you will be infringing the Electoral Act, because primaries for an election must be done within a specified time before the date of the election. You can't get that date in this one. So people will challenge that this primary is not known to law.
So where does the solution lie here? We're looking at the deputy, which you highlight, talking about the joint ticket that they moved together. It would mean that he has already started the process with the late Audu. Your recipe, expatiate more on that. Are you now saying that he should proceed as the candidate for the party while the party gets him
a deputy?
A deputy.
Yeah, that's what the law says. He will appoint his deputy. That's what the law. But let me say this. There is no way this matter will not end in court. So why not take this position, allow the deputy to go there, and then you go to court. And whatever the court now says after that will be affected, rather than embark on a voyage of going back to do certain things that will not have any backing of law. For instance, asking APC to go into a primary now. How will they fit in the primary into the law? When the law says a primary for an election must be done within a period of time. So I believe that allow the deputy to take over so that a vacuum will not be created and litigation will come after, whichever way you look at it.
Mr. Clarke, I was going to ask you, I know you've talked about this, but let me just read out the portion of the Constitution, 187, 1 and 2, so that we can really get a clarification. It says, in the election to which the foregoing provisions of this part of this chapter relates, a candidate for the office of governor of a state shall not be deemed to have been validly nominated for such office unless he nominates another candidate as his associate for his running for the office of governor, who is to occupy the office of deputy governor. And that candidate shall be deemed to have been duly elected to the office of deputy governor if the candidate who nominated him is duly elected. In this case now, Mr. Faleke has not been elected based on INEC's declaration, and you still say he should step in.
Not that he has not been elected. An election has been done. It is the declaration that has not been made. But you have to get this clear.
Mr. Clarke,
an election has been done.
Is it not that declaration that puts that stamp of duly elected on that election?
The declaration has been put in abeyance for a particular reason. Because there are inconclusive elections in certain areas. And once those are done, there'll be a declaration. But an election has been done.
Let's see how quickly we can listen to John Odige-Oyegun, the APC national chairman, on this matter. And when we come back, we'll talk more on that and quickly bring in the doctrine of necessity before we let you go.
Okay.
As a party, we are going to proceed with the process of organizing primaries to provide a substitute candidate to our late beloved Prince Abubakar Audu. INEC has fixed the 5th of December for the supplementary elections. So when it's a matter of detail, who is a matter of detail. Again, it will be the preference of the electors that we respect. We are a thoroughly democratic, law-abiding, due process party, and we are going to proceed accordingly.
So what happens to the deputy?
I said, if you heard me, it will be the preference of the electors that will determine who will replace Prince Abubakar Audu.
The national chairman of the APC, you heard him there.
He says that the party will replace. What process are they going to use?
Because it doesn't look like they're considering your option,
Yeah,
looking at Mr. Faleke coming to the fore.
The deputy?
Yes.
Immediately they will put him there. Is that what you are saying?
No, it doesn't look like they're talking about having a primary.
They want somebody else outside the deputy to replace Audu. That is what he's selling to us now. But what I'm saying is, what is the process in nominating that man who is going to replace Audu? Are they going to use the process of the party primary? Because the law is that you cannot be nominated for an election if you don't pass through a primary.
But the APC has said it's going to conduct fresh primaries and that another candidate is going to emerge. So how does this fit in?
What I'm saying now is that it could be challenged. That primary, under what law are they going to hinge this primary now? When the law says that a primary must be held so many days before election is held, and you are putting a primary now, election will be held on 5th of December, and you are bringing in a primary not less, less than 1 week. Which law allows for that? The law
Doesn't
says
the doctrine of necessity
Exactly.
come in at this time
that's where we
because
are
of
going. And I'm
the
happy I'm here
uniqueness of the
today to talk
situation?
about the doctrine of necessity. Under Nigerian law, there is nothing known as doctrine of necessity. And let us make it clear today, because jurisprudentially, the Nigerian courts have started buying it, which is wrong. The doctrine of necessity is a common law doctrine. Britain, United Kingdom, they do not have a written constitution. So when a situation arises under the governance and there is no statute upon which they can hinge it because they don't have a written constitution, they go under the common law of the doctrine of necessity. It's a common law doctrine. We run a presidential system of governance, not a parliamentary system of governance. We have a written constitution. When Yar'Adua was sick, this doctrine was brought in surreptitiously. It has nothing to do with Nigerian constitution. When Yar'Adua was sick, there was a provision in the Nigerian constitution which we could have taken advantage of, which we refused to because of the Sikhism of certain top politicians in the kitchen cabinet of Yar'Adua who don't want you and I to know that he's so seriously sick, and they were governing Nigeria for almost 6 months without authority. The Constitution of Nigeria says when a governor or a president is incapable of continuing his job, the cabinet will meet and by certain votes declare him unfit to, based on medical. The provision is there. They never used it. And then we came up with this doctrine of necessity. Again, I was in the Supreme Court 3 or 4 weeks ago. These cases from Rivers State, where the venue of the tribunal was being moved from Port Harcourt to Abuja, lawyers were dragging in this doctrine of necessity again. And we should not allow it to creep into our jurisprudential system because it is not part of our law. It's a common law doctrine based on parliamentary system of governance.
But doesn't it fit in a case where there is no provision
for
the situation we are in? There's no provision for it in the Electoral Act or in the Nigerian Constitution.
What I'm now saying is that we should take what is nearest to our Constitution and allow the courts. After I have said it, there is no scenario we take today that will not land in court. Wada is going to court. When the chairman now says there's going to be a primary, people are going to challenge it, that this primary is unknown to law. So why not take the nearest that our Constitution provides for today, that the deputy, in the event of the man dying, the deputy takes over. And you say because he has not been declared. But my own view is that declaration, there had been an election. It's only a declaration that has not been made.
Mr. Clarke, there are these arguments that until a winner is declared, the contestants remain contestants. They remain candidates. So Section 33 of the Electoral Act would definitely come into play here. Do you agree with that?
Section 33 of the, with due respect, has nothing to do. It's a pre-election. Section 33 says, look, once you have been nominated by your party to contest an election, the party cannot change you. And that's what happened in Amechi's case. He was changed by the Central Working Committee of the party after he had been nominated by the party. And he went to court and said, look, you cannot change me. Section 33 says you can only change when the man himself says, I don't want to contest, or he dies before the contest. You see what I mean? So it does not apply in this case at all, because an election has been held.
Now, this is novel because we have provisions for what happens before and what happens after. But we never emphasize what will happen during.
Yeah,
and what comes to mind now in going forward, should we also be thinking of very quickly, by the time we get past this, we should also be looking to amending the Constitution?
Thank you. You see, we learn every day. The Constitution is not a perfect book. It needs tinkering and amendment. Only the way we do it in Nigeria, every situation we amend. In America, they too amend, but not at the rapidity we do it now. But I agree with you. Let us, learn from our mistakes. There is no exact provision for what has happened now. There are provisions for what can happen before an election or after an election. But in between, when an election has been held and the period of declaration, this event has happened. Let us put the deputy governor there, which is the nearest thing, if elections have been declared. And now, let us alter the Constitution and make provision for that lacuna which is in the Constitution now.
Robert Clarke, thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Always my pleasure.
We'll take a moment here on Sunrise Daily looking at another perspective on the same matter. Stay with us.